Thanks for joining us on today's episode of the program Inside Abuja, another opportunity to explore happenings in the Federal Capital Territory Administration. Do well to join us again right after this break. Alright, you're welcome back. And I'm your host, Joy Igochi, on the program Inside Abuja, the program that is focused on the FCT administration. And on today's episode, I am being joined by the Director of the Directorate of Road Traffic Services, Dr. Abdulateef Bello.
Let me draw attention first of all to the historical or the genesis of the ban on commercial motorcycles in the federal capital city. It was in 2006 that the then administration considered the use of commercial motorcycles as traffic issue, and they decided that it should be restricted to the suburbs and never allowed to operate within the federal capital city. And at that time, the enforcement was mild because the population, was still manageable. Unlike today, we have very high population in FCT and people need to move around. And bearing in mind that FCT is still a work in progress. There are virtually so many areas that still lack transportation infrastructure. And then the administration, in their magnanimity, thought it wise that there is need to provide a waiver so that commercial motorcycles and tricycles can provide last mile, to those who are living in the suburbs and some area councils. But however, as the population grows, like I said, people find it a little bit easier, to beat traffic by using commercial motorcycles. So they begin to grow in number, and they're becoming overwhelmingly impossible to control. That exactly explains why we had to step up to ensure that we put the activities of commercial motorcycles under control. But to say whether the crushing that we've been doing has done significant control, I'll say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that I'm sure it must have send signal to those who are investing in the commercial motorcycles to have a rethink. So we might not feel the impact now, but I think in many months to come, not few months, not many, few months to come, we'll begin to see drastic reduction in the operation of commercial motorcycles in the federal capital city. No, because people still find, it's a factor of demand and supply, because like I told you, Abuja is still a work in progress, and there are other transport, facilities that we need to introduce to complement the growth, like every other modern cities, like mass transit, rails, and all that. So until we achieve that feat, and of course, people will still continue to be recalcitrant. But our goal is to continue to do the control, and that's exactly what we have been doing. Okay, like I said, similarly, like motorcycles, the tricycles are, you know, a product of transportation exigency. It was never provided in the transportation master plan that tricycles or motorcycles will ever be used as a commercial, you know, transport facility in the federal capital city. So it's just the fact that, like I said, FCT is, work in progress. There are waivers for them to operate, to help some of our teeming population that are reside in the suburbs to be able to move back after work to their various destinations. So as a result of this, we have route plan and agreement was reached, and then others were issued. Engagements, with unions were made several. And initially they started complying with the route plan. But like I said, the quest to make more money and then other considerations, which possibly are security issues, begin to motivate them to move into the federal capital city. So we had to renew the negotiation once again, and then we had series of meetings, engagement meetings with union and the operators, reminding them of areas they are supposed to operate and the areas they are not supposed to operate. So after several pardon, we have decided that look, it's high time again, because I believe that the only language some of these recalcitrant offenders understand is enforcement. So we're stepping up our enforcement activities, and then every day we are moving around and impounding all those tricycles that are in constant abuse of the already established route plan.
So what are those areas they're supposed to involve their activities, and where are they supposed to stay clear from?
They are supposed to stay clear from the federal capital city, from the highways. They are supposed to operate within the suburbs, and they are supposed to provide last mile to estates. So even most of them are supposed to just operate within the estates, bring people out, to a certain, you know, uh, perimeter of the estates, so that people can now access, other transport facilities and then go back. That's where they are supposed to operate. They are never to be seen within the federal capital city and on the highways.
So let's go and watch this video where the director of the DRTS and other members of his team impounded several keke napeps at their WIE office and at several DRTS outposts in the FCC. As early as 9 a.m., the enforcement team of the Directorate of Road Traffic Services (DRTS) of the FCT administration embarked on a thorough inspection exercise. The team started from DRTS WIE office to Area 3 at the APB premises, where several impounded tricycles were on display. Thereafter, the team proceeded en route to AYA, where surprisingly at Apo roundabout, some operators of tricycle, popularly called keke napeps, took to their heels upon sighting the task force. The trio of the Director of DRTS, Dr Abdulateef Bello, the Transport Secretary, Honorable Abdullahi Candido, and the FCT Minister's Aide on Monitoring, Inspection and Enforcement, Comrade Ikarata, reveals the FCT Minister's directive according to the Abuja Master Plan.
We have well over 251 keke napep that have been arrested, impounded and kept here for the same route violation. And then, as you will bear witness, that we have had this understanding that all keke napep must operate outside the city. They are supposed to provide last mile for commuters that have their residences in the estates in the suburb.
The first impression of what Nigeria is in the city of Abuja. And therefore we travel far and near and we see how cities look, and then only for us to come to our own city and then see a decayed city as if as if the government is not working. So that is why government is usually taking this hard situation or hard positions.
Some motorists that have become victims of their misbehavior and they are driving against the rules here are already putting pressure on the system that Okada is currently witnessing crushing, that if they don't stop to conform to the law, that they also should also face crushing as well, but that have not been taken as a directive or a decision yet.
Ensure that those people that enter inside the city center, we stop them by force.
With the display of tricycles and Okada you can see here today, one point of concern remains: how long will Nigerians keep breaking the law? Because where there is no law, there is bound to be anarchy. And the Federal Capital Territory Administration is keen on allowing the master plan to stand without any form of interruption or pollution in the city. So tricycle operators should keep heed while the sun shines. Reporting from the ground of the Directorate of Road Traffic Services, Joy Igoche, ITV News.
No, I think they are just ignorant and recalcitrant, and ignorance is not an excuse in law. But I again believe that not many of them actually procure those, tricycles, and there are people who are buying them. There we have series of merchants who now decide to invest and then make returns on daily basis, and then maybe these people are under pressure to expand their routes to enable them meet up. So I think those are the people we need to hit indirectly, because by the time we begin to seize some of this impound, and then because we're even thinking of listing them for crushing over time, but we haven't gotten any approval to that. But I think that's again what we need to do, because it's like you said, we're graduating from another offense to another major one, so we wouldn't allow that one to happen. So of course, but what we intend to do is to now continue to raid them, especially where they are not supposed to operate. Now, those that are in the understanding of this route plan are still working. There are some estates, if you visit, you will discover that they are well coordinated, well planned, and then they stick to their route plan, and then they remain in business. So we're only dealing with those that's really in disobedience to this route plan. Now, of course, what they did last week is to arraign them before the mobile courts, and then they were awarded penalties, because we don't have the power to award penalties, we only do fines. But this time around they were awarded penalties, and then those who were able to pay will have to sign an undertaking that they will stick to the route plan, because if they were again impounded, I'm sure they will have to face stiffer penalty. So we have mobile courts that are working with us now, on a weekly basis to clear whatever impoundments that are done, and that's what we will continue to do for as long as they continue to operate in disobedience. I beg to differ, because when you want to talk about issue of poverty is quite deep. There are fundamental factors, and then we have to look at all those factors that borders on human security, talking of education key. So I believe riding Okada or riding tricycle, to me, is not it's not a solution to poverty. In fact, as a matter of fact, that to me is an indication, you understand, of poor development. And I think that the policymakers will have to look at that critically, because it's those that are even doing Okada or motorcycles. If you interview them, they will tell you that it's never in their decision. And then some of them are graduates, some of them are even master degree holders. So, but again, what I think is the problem is not depriving them of their livelihood. It's about keeping them, under regulation, which is very key for the federal capital city. The federal capital city is, the pride of the nation. It's a place that the entire country is adjudged, in terms of environmental sanity and other considerations. So I believe we have to collectively understand that fact and then work hard collectively or jointly to resolve some of these issues. Again, we have said that we are not totally depriving them in operating or doing their business, but they have to understand that there are areas where they are needed. If you go to Kuje, for instance, if you go to Buhari, if you go to Gwagwalada, they are in full scale of operation, and nobody has gone there. You understand? What we are only saying is just a very small square, I mean, what do you call it? Yes, of the federal capital city, which I don't think will, cause any or improve any, poverty index. I think there are other businesses to be done. You understand? The federal capital city provided opportunities for several businesses, and I strongly believe that they can look elsewhere. Notwithstanding, if they still want to be doing, this kind of business, they should, look at locations where they are, allowed to operate, and then again, they should equally help in educating those who they have employed to run these kind of businesses. Some of them truly are ignorant, but like I said, ignorance is not an excuse. So that's what I think they should do. Train your employee, and then again make them understand that there are rules and regulations. It's cheaper to be on the side of the law. I keep advising. The fundamental challenge confronting us is not too different from what other enforcement agencies face. Firstly, something has to do with the culture, whereas people believe that you have to look the other way. I'm your brother, I'm your cousin, sentiments and all that. So whenever you apprehend or you impound, you see notes from very high quarters calling you, please, this is from us, can you allow or look the other way? And ideally, these are people that are supposed to collectively, join hands together to develop the city. At least for us to have the city that we're all, proud of. So that is one. And again, I believe for sure technology is very key. I believe the only way to solve some of these problems is to, begin to embrace e-employment. So e-technology, so that at least we reduce the human interface in the course of conducting our activities. For instance, if we have artificial intelligence cameras, positioned in some of these strategic places, collecting information and again sending bills to those who must have committed infraction one way or the other, and then we just sit in the office and do our analysis and collect our money. I think that will reduce the level of interface, and then all these cultural issues that are associated with doing our job. And like we said, we are not just about the DRTS is not just on issue of motorcycles and all that. What we do here is huge. It's like something that can be bundled into several departments: motor vehicle administration and the entire gamut of traffic management and control. So, but what is giving us problem is these traffic infractions, and I know for sure as the city develops, we will definitely overcome some of these issues. Well, we're doing a lot, and then with the help of, some, critical media, platforms like yours, for instance, have done a lot of coverage for us, talking to public, and your TV is popularly viewed. We have done NTA, we have done channels, we have done radios, we have done a lot. So, but I believe that, people just, decide to, take a very cheap option. And what they think is cheap to me is not, because it's always cheaper to be on the side of law. So that's always my advice. And then we're working very hard, to transform our mode of operation. Really, we've had series of what's it called, pilot projects on this e-enforcement. Cameras are already installed in 1 or 2 strategic places, and then we are doing analyzing. We are still processing, but because that's the way to go. In the future, we might not be seeing a lot of our men on the road, so you'll be compelled one way or the other. By the time we use cost, to put pressure on people, definitely they will obey. I, I don't know what to tell them, but for sure, they are the top policy makers. And then my own advice, is that there is need for us to declare, emergency in transportation, because the population of FCT is increasing on daily basis. Every cycle of election bringing people that will never go back again. Even people that come here to do national youth service, they don't go back. Nobody comes to FCT and go back. So there's need for us to declare transportation, because transportation management is very key to security control and management too. And then if we invest heavily in transportation and traffic control, I think, and I'm sure you understand, the security of FCT will equally improve. And notwithstanding, then it's going to equally help, productivity, because if people can access their offices, with less stress and in good time, that will help productivity, and FCT will be better for it.
Thank you very much, Director Sir, for your input in this program. It has been a small time. Yes, and we've learned a lot of things. We've gotten insight about traffic regulations and control in the FCT. So FCT residents better take heed while the sun shines, so as not to violate the law and become, prey to what you would have done easily without any form of contraventions and whatever. So thank you very much for watching this episode of the program Inside Abuja. I remain your host, Joy Iguchi. Bye for now.